Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Total Basis Podcast, and I'm your host, Felipe. Over there is my podcast partner, Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing this morning?
I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background, but that's me sobbing my 30-team season, where I led, the entire league in points by like 3.5 matchups worth of points. It's being flushed down the drain right behind me. Well, so is the life of head-to-head fantasy. Which Felipe, you're also feeling from the same side, but with me once again in the driver's seat there. But we'll get to that. We got some real life postseason stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and that's a thing. We're near the end. It looks like a lot of the playoff picture has been formulated already. We're getting a clearer picture as to what this looks like. Let's see here. So I look at the American League right now, Sean, and it's pretty much a done deal with all the divisions. Yankees have this locked up against the Rays and Blue Jays, and maybe the Orioles. Well, the Orioles are 14 games back, so they're pretty much out of the playoff divisional race. But I guess the Rays and Blue Jays still have some sort of mathematical chance because there is 11 games back, and they're all below 10 games behind the Yankees. But according to Fangraphs, so we're at the playoff odds. The Yankees have this 100%. Yep. There's like no chance. They don't foresee anything. Usually when it's 100%, that doesn't go back down. Or maybe it does. I don't know. I don't pay that too much attention. But 100% is pretty damn good, right, Sean?
Yeah, and you technically, the Orioles, after some heroics and a little bit of choking last night against the Astros, are still mathematically alive. Fangraphs only giving them 0.7%. But hey, at this point in the year,
that's for the wild card, though, right?
Yeah, for the wild card. Who expected the Orioles to be 7 games over 500? Like,
that's pretty funny though. But when they were just starting to go a little bit under climb, when there was like, not even. No, I remember when we had the show with James Handaboat here when you were away. I made a joke like, okay, James, there's 3 teams with a 0.2, 0.3% chance of getting of making the playoffs, and it's the Tigers, the Royals, and the Orioles. And I said, I think I like what the Orioles are doing a little bit, but James made a good point. Well, I don't like the Orioles making the playoffs because they have a very tough division. So maybe the Tigers would be the best choice of those teams who have less than 1% chance of making it. And I go, yeah, sounds logical. So let's go with the Orioles and move on to the next topic. But the Orioles were at 0.2% in May or something, and now they're at 0.7.
Hey, they're climbing.
So all of that for a 0.5% of an increase in their opportunity here.
And it's just so weird to see that, they have a better record than the Boston Red Sox, the Cleveland Guardians, the Chicago White Sox, like all of these, the Minnesota Twins. Like nobody would have said this at the beginning of the year. Nobody. And yet here they are. So.
Well, we can move on to the AL Central. I guess the Guardians pretty much locked up this division this past week as they defeated the White Sox. They pretty much, I think they swept them. There's only
they won a lot out of their last 12. I think they went like 10-2 or 11-1.
Yeah, they're on fire right now, and it's a really good team. We talked about them all season long. I remember from Stephen Kwan all the way to some of their minor leaguers, like who was
Oscar Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, right?
Will Benson, who hasn't really done much, but right before the show went live, I talked about Will Brennan. Was one of their AAA left-handed hitting outfielders. He's been called up playing the outfield kind of every day now. He was just a doubles 300 hitting machine as he worked his way up from AA where he started this year. But yeah, like you said, a really good team. And I'm kicking myself because I really liked the Guardians going into this year, especially when they started extending everybody. But I couldn't bring myself. I thought that they were just missing a little bit more than what they would need to get to this point. But in the playoffs, obviously, they're going to be the third worst division. They don't get a bye. But that you can never underestimate the Guardians. The pitching is there. The back end of the bullpen is so good. The front 3 starters so good. So yeah, I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs.
No, they have really good pitching. We've talked, and then our guy, the one that we've been talking about for the last couple of years or so, Emmanuel Clase, struggling a little bit as we're finishing up the season. His numbers aren't as dominant as in the last 10 days or so, but he's been pretty damn good all year long. And then they got James Karinchak back, which is another guy that we've been talking about for years and years and years. And
Trevor Stephen, the Rule
yes.
5 pick from the Yankees, who I had been keeping my eye on since Cleveland brought him over. And it just like he never really did that good, but like the peripherals, like you could really see where like something could happen here. And finally this year it did. And of course, like you've mentioned, James Karinchak coming back into the fold. They got some weapons back there in the bullpen. So typical Cleveland of old.
And then we move on to the AL West. Well, is there any other team? Well, the Twins are just swooning right now.
Yeah, they're. I think they're all dead in the water.
Let's see here. Astros in the AL West. I mean, they pretty much had this league won a long time ago, even with the Mariners kind of breaking out as we predicted on this show. At least I predicted. I forgot what you predicted for the Mariners, but I definitely saw this one coming for the Mariners. They were just too damn good. But they're still the Mariners are still 16 games behind the Astros.
The Astros were just that good, and it's funny because every year they've lost like one piece, and we just say, okay, they're not going to be as good this year. They lost George Springer. Fast forward a year, they're not going to be as good. They lost Carlos Correa, and we all just look like fools at the end of the year. They're kind of like the hateable higher budget Tampa Bay Rays, because every year Tampa loses, they trade somebody, they get rid of somebody, and they're just not going to be as good next year. And then they do exactly what they've always done. But the Astros are kind of like the more hateable version of that.
So that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I know that we always people want to discount the Astros, but I mean, we don't discount the Astros. We tell you guys all the time, hey, don't just because they lost Correa or they lost I don't know who the hell. Hell, they lost Ryan Presley for most of the year.
Yeah, and Michael Brantley was injured, been out for the last 3 months.
Yeah, don't count them out, man. No. They just pick up guys, and that's the difference between a team like the Astros and the White Sox, where the White Sox cannot develop players in their farm system to save their lives. There is something really going wrong because people want to say, "Oh, Tony La Russa ruined the dynamic of that clubhouse," but if you can't even trust the guys you bring up to go in there and produce for you, you're something is systematically wrong. Meanwhile, the Astros, all they do is just bring up a guy, and all of a sudden they become fantasy relevant, let alone Major League Baseball ready players who are able to continue their winning ways without Michael Brantley, without Carlos Correa. That's okay. No Carlos Correa. Here's Jeremy Pena. And I don't know who replaced Brantley off the top of my head. Was it Chas McCormick?
Yeah, Chas McCormick started playing a little bit more center. Jose Siri was there until they traded him. I mean, it's kind of been just a rotating spot. Aledmys Diaz, I know, has gotten some run. But yeah, it's you look at they have 5 guys with 3 F4 or higher. Jeremy Pena at 3, Kyle Tucker at 4.5. The return of Alex Bregman, which I think has been really quiet. He walked more than he struck out this year, 620 plate appearances for a guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries. 137 WRC plus. Jose Altuve doing Jose Altuve things. 6 WAR season at age 32. And of course, Yordan Alvarez at 127 games. So he's even like had the little hand issue that they put him on the IL. They don't put him on the IL, but he doesn't play. 37 home runs and 531 plate appearances, 6.5 F4 as a primary left fielder and DH. He was a guy that picked up a lot of slack when Brantley went down. He started playing more left field. So yeah, 6.5 F4 for Yordan Alvarez in 127 games is super impressive.
Yeah. That's Yordan Alvarez, right? That's the 3rd place AL MVP winner right there, Sean.
Likely. I mean, any other year, a guy with a 186 WRC plus, we're like, yeah, this guy's probably the best hitter in baseball this year. 303 average, 410 on base, slugging over 615. Like any other year, Yordan Alvarez is likely an MVP. But it's just not this year. It's one of those very unfortunate things for him. But hey.
Yeah, it's the wrong year. And if you just want to go on the hitting, I think we look just the hitting alone. We saw this a couple of weeks ago that it's Judge, Alvarez, and then everybody else is playing for third place. But because Ohtani can pitch, he'll get more consideration for the MVP, which I don't think is right, but who knows?
I think it's very interesting now that you mentioned it. I wanted to look it up. You're like Judge, Alvarez, and everybody else.
Yeah.
You have Goldschmidt that tucks in nicely in third.
Well, I mean,
it's in the AL. But you know who's third in the AL in WRC plus?
I forget.
Close your ears, Yankees fans. At 159, Jose Altuve.
And Jose Ramirez is also having a good season too.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez isn't having a bad year. He's just not having like one of his best years.
They were talking about that on the Rates and Barrels podcast, where they were talking about how Jose Ramirez is actually struggling against the shift this season.
He's at 138 this year, and he was at 137 last year. But we can say that Jose Ramirez is struggling to the tune of a 6-WAR season. It's like he does so much. Like once again, the strikeouts and walks are damn near identical. He's not like doing the crazy 600 slug thing that he did in 2020, but Jose Ramirez is still good, everybody.
All right, well, let's see here. I have in the wild card Mariners and Rays and the Blue Jays at over 99% of making the playoffs. So the Orioles are the odd team out. Things can change in a moment's notice, right? But right now, as it stands, it looks like the Orioles are 3.5 games back in the wild card to the Blue Jays. But it looks like their Mariners are sitting in the front seat for right now, while the Rays are kind of sniffing at their heels. And the Blue Jays are trying to fend off the Orioles. Teams like the White Sox are basically eliminated from this. Although they're in real life, they're 7.5 games behind the Blue Jays for that last playoff spot. What would that be in the division? Because now the division is what? The division is 9 games. So either way, they're screwed. Yeah. There's only 11 games, maybe less than 11 games to go. So the White Sox, but according to the Fangraphs playoff odds, the White Sox are pretty much gone. They're eliminated. Adios. This has been the absolute most disappointing season to be a White Sox fan.
Yeah, especially after kind of what happened last year. You expect to build off of that, not kind of.
That's why I say
not kind of step backwards.
That's why I say that. That's why I say progression is not linear. Just because you made the playoffs last year doesn't mean you're going to take a step forward the following year. But White Sox fans were hoping for that. And you and I saw the rosters at the beginning of the season, and we're looking at it like, all right, where are the improvements? Okay, the bullpen, great. Good job on solidifying that bullpen, but
everywhere else. Where's the lefty bat? Where's the second baseman? Oh, Josh Harrison.
That's gonna win you.
Larry Garcia is still our leadoff hitter.
This is ridiculous. We still didn't have a solid defensive outfielder out there that can spell guys like Eloy Jimenez or God forbid Andrew Vaughn, who's now become one of the worst outfielders in all of baseball, despite the fact that he's actually progressed a little bit with his hitting. We still don't have a backup catcher, apparently, like a one that we can believe and trust in. And we were depending on a guy who's never been healthy in his life to be our back end starter, in Michael Kopech. And Michael Kopech is hurt again. We were counting on Dallas Keuchel to get us through, even though the signs were there that said that he was going to suck this year. And Lucas Giolito took a step back, and it looks like this might be Lucas Giolito for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Giolito. And I'm ready. He might get thrown in the Barrios category, which don't close your eyes now, people. But Barrios is about to end the year with like a 5+ ERA.
And if you're counting on Lance Lynn to get you over the top, I mean, that's not good. That is not a good way of. It's not good, man. This is a mess. This is a big mess of a team, and then the ironic part is that they are top 10 in payroll, I believe. This is like the highest amount that they've ever spent, but it's really just a situation where the money was misspent, and then there's certain free agents that you went and were aggressively pursuing that you were not able to sign, and the worst part of all, none of your draft picks are panning out, and your farm system is putrid. Like, you're telling me that you cannot bring up anybody from AA or AAA to provide you some depth and production. Meanwhile, the Guardians are just outclassing you in a supposedly weak division.
I mean, it's one of those things where people want to look at the money that's invested in the major league payroll, but one of the things that I don't think it's ever publicly available is just like the money or the percentage of money invested in player development. Yeah. And it's like it's so clear that teams like the Indians and the Rays, that's their competitive edge. Mm-hmm. They might not outspend people or the like really big teams in player development, but like the kind of even Chicago's a big market, but the White Sox, you wouldn't really classify to me as like a huge spending team. And I mean, this year, top 10 in payroll, but how much compared to their MLB payroll are they investing in, kind of the whole player development side compared to the Indians?
Yeah, they clearly aren't. I mean, it's every guy they bring up is basically the same carbon copy as the last guy they brought up. Gavin Sheets is basically Jake Berger. I mean,
hey, if you combine both of those guys into one guy, they'd be really good.
Yeah, but we can't afford it. We actually need someone that can play every day. And AJ Pollock has been a major disappointment this season. He's playing up to his age. He's going to be 35 soon. Mm-hmm. And we already talked about Andrew Vaughn. And Romy Gonzalez is basically a carbon copy of Lori Garcia. But they're both awful. Adam Engel sucks. He's always sucked. He's never been good at anything. Sevi Zavala. I mean, yeah, he's actually 347 on base percentage, but I mean, he's not good either. I mean, but then you got your guys that are supposed to be good, like Yoan Moncada, 276 on base percentage. Eloy Jimenez having a great year, but he can't stay healthy. Every single time he's out there, he gets hurt. Luis Robert. I know this. I'm a Luis Robert fantasy league owner. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? Yasmani Grandal, 305 on base percentage. And he's it's the highest paid White Sox ever.
Yep.
This is embarrassing. I mean, listen, at the time, they were the right moves to make, right? We all were applauding the Yasmani Grandal, but we were also assuming that everything else was going to get taken care of. And it wasn't. And that's the problem. You're counting on guys like Johnny Cueto to get you over the top. And he's 37 years old. Johnny Cueto should not be someone you're depending to help you anchor your rotation. He should be in the back end as a depth piece, not a main integral part of that. He's right now the SP3. Lucas Giolito is now the SP4, and some guy named Davis Martin.
Hey, Davis Martin had a quality start yesterday.
Well, congratulations. He's 39 strikeouts and 17 walks.
I've streamed him around. He's not great, but he has been a streaming option.
You said it. He's not great. That's all you need to know. He's not great. And then again, the bullpen also was rattled with injuries. But again, the fact that because the Indians, when they get rattled with injuries, they don't give a shit. They just go into their cupboard and say, what else do we have? Oh, we have this guy. Let's just bring him up and he'll do wonders for us. You just mentioned Trevor Stephen, who was a nobody to begin the season. We was on nobody's radar. And then all of a sudden you just see this relief pitcher getting all the holds and having this ridiculously high strikeout rate at this part of the year.
So this is my first time looking at Davis Martin's Savant page really since like his first couple of starts, because he had like his first start was really good, but I had actually watched it and he got hit hard. He went 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, 5 hits, 1 walk against the Royals back in May as just like a spot start. And I had picked him up. I had been keeping tabs on him. He's actually kind of not terrible. I mean, he's not getting a lot of strikeouts. You're right. Only a 17% strikeout rate there, but 4.3 expected ERA. Gets like avoiding kind of the barrels and the hard hits. Like, okay, I see you, Davis Martin. Like he's a guy that every team should have, like a solid 5th, 6th starter. And he has just like the most basic name in the world, like a basic white person name, Davis Martin. Like that sounds like I was about to say, like, this guy should be doing my taxes, but instead he's checking the accounts of the guys in the batter's box and telling them that they're overdrawn, they're out. So, yeah, Davis Martin, I didn't think that that's where today's episode would go towards, but Davis Martin having like solid Savant sliders and like the prototypical 4-pitch mix, and he uses all 4 pitches. Nice. I like it. I really do like it. 44% whiff rate on the slider.
No, that's promising. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. I didn't realize the White Sox had it in them to develop someone to have a wipeout slider right
Lighter.
like that. You look at their, and then you go down to their minor league system. Yeah, you mentioned Jake Berger, Lennon Sosa, who was the big. Oh man, Lennon
Oh
Sosa's
yeah, a
coming.
lot of people got hyped over that, and I was like,
Why?
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 Is it
It's
the
just
last name? Is it the last name in Chicago?
Has to be.
Like that's the only thing I could think of.
I mean, Lennon Sosa right now, according to Fangraphs, is the number 3 prospect in the farm system right now.
Ugh.
That's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic.
I mean,
He's nothing.
he
He's
had
just a guy.
he had 23 home runs in 115 games in the minors this year, but like, ugh.
And Blake Rutherford's still there. Remember
Blake the corpse of Blake Rutherford?
Yeah, well, he's still there. I didn't realize he was still around. I thought his career ended, but I didn't realize how young he was. He's only 25. That's the guy who ran into that into the White Sox wall, right? And bursted his knee into pieces. Or am I thinking of somebody else?
You're thinking of Dustin Fowler, I think.
Oh, was that him?
Dustin Fowler was the one who got called up for the Yankees and made his debut in Oakland and ran straight into that wall. And it was like the first out of the game. And
so Blake Rutherford was the guy who got traded for the relief pitchers, Tommy Conley.
Blake Rutherford. They were both Yankees prospects. That's where we're connecting here.
Yeah, and I think Dustin Fowler ended up going to the A's, I believe.
Yep.
But they were both Yankee prospects.
Last seen in Pittsburgh in 2021.
Oh, good for him.
I remember the Dustin Fowler injury though. That was like the saddest thing ever, because you saw him hit that and you knew his leg was not okay. And he like got up and he was like, "No, I'm fine." Like, he starts waving the trainer away, as he falls down to the ground. Like his knee was just done.
Blake Rutherford, 2 full seasons in AAA already.
That's never a good thing.
That's never a good thing. Well, last year he had 286, but this year, Sean, he made improvements. He's not. I'm sorry. When I say he's hitting 286, that's the on base percentage.
Oh, that's cruel.
Last year he struggled with a 286 on base percentage, so that's okay. He made improvements this year. He's now at 313 on base percentage. So
hey, he was in the Southern League in 2019. I remember seeing him a little bit.
Well, thanks.
And I remember seeing the name, but it was you don't like seeing back-to-back years 24, 25 in AAA.
He went from having an 80 WRC plus last season to a 95 WRC plus this season in AAA.
There you go.
So,
improvement, man. Improvement.
But he's always sucked. I mean, he's never been any good. Good plate discipline, decent hit tool, but nothing to brag about. And the other big guy that everybody, White Sox fans, love to clamor about, Oscar Colas, 35% strikeout rate in AAA. Only 4 games, 20 plate appearances, but that might be a problem. He's 23 years old and whiffing at everything.
Yeah, we saw him in the last game that we went to. He had a home run in that game. He is a big man.
Yeah.
He's listed at 6'1", 210. Like I said, we had this conversation I think last week. Yeah, that's an old height weight. He's probably 6'1", 6'2", but he's at least like 240. I mean, he's a big man.
Well, it sounds like the White Sox have like their version of Franmil Reyes, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, like a lefty Reyes, like kind of, yeah.
So yeah, man, not looking good, and I'm not even gonna get to the pitching. Hey, they got Mike Wright Jr. Remember him from the Orioles?
Oh God, maybe. I think so.
Pitcher. Yeah, they got him. That's good. Other than that, there's not. Oh, there's one number 80. There's the 80th ranked baseball prospect in Colson Montgomery. He's still in AA. He's a ways away. He's only 20 years old.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that when I made the post in Baseball Life about Project Birmingham, they called up a lot of guys that were having their really good seasons at the lower levels, and they took some guys that were on the AA roster and put them on the development list, kind of hit them there, and allowed them to call up all these guys. It was almost like a reward, like, hey, we're going to pick all these guys that were having great years and we're going to put them on the same roster and same lineup and see what happens. And kind of the guys that were having great years in A-ball or high A, get that immediate challenge just to see like, okay, yeah, you were doing really good earlier. Let's see if it's legit. And Colson Montgomery was one of those guys that got called up. He kind of reminded me of Seager. He definitely looked overmatched. I mean, he was only 20 in a AA, and you can definitely see he's being overmatched at AA right now. But I also think that it's kind of a smart thing for these teams to do, in that Like this year, he was dominating A and A ball or A and high A.
Yeah.
Why even wait till next year for him to face these double A pitchers? Let him face them now, struggle now, and then in the offseason, he realizes, hey, this is the quality of competition I got to get up to and go from there rather than having to do it in the middle of the year. But 6'4", lefty swing. He did remind me a little bit of Corey Seager out there, just kind of watching him on the field defensively and at the plate.
I don't know, man. Corey Seager had I have to believe they had a better hit tool than Colson Montgomery.
I'm sure he does. I think Colson's a little bit of power over hit, but the walk rates have been kind of encouraging throughout the minors for him so far.
Yeah, he's shown some good plate discipline, but not in Double A. But again, he's only 20 years old in Double A, so he's going to be overmatched a little bit.
Yeah.
But in the White Sox, they do have a reputation for quickly bringing up their younger guys. Quick shout out to Steve and Angel for joining us on the chat. Hope you guys have a good Sunday morning. Enjoy your football today. But before you enjoy your football, let's talk some more baseball. Let's go over to the National League. And you're gonna love this one. The Mets and Braves, they're still on a dogfight. Braves are 1.5 games back, but it looks like there's an 80-20 split as to who's gonna win the division, with the advantage going to the Mets. Is that how you see it there, Sean?
Yeah, it basically the Mets have to go into their series that's at, I believe, the end of the week or the beginning of next week against the Braves. I think it's this weekend. If they can go into the series, I believe, with just a 1-game lead or 1.5, all they have to do is win 1 game in that series. If they win 1 game, they have the tiebreaker against Atlanta for the season. So, of course, no more game 163 this year. But yeah, if they go in with at least, I think, 2 games and they win 1, then I think they mathematically clinch.
Some breaking news here. Looks like Don Mattingly will not return to the Marlins next season.
I had just seen where Andrew Sullivan had said something about that, but I did not get the alert yet. So
yeah, well, now it says here will inform. So does that mean he's going to change his mind later and then come back anyway, or is this a done deal for him? So some developing issues going on there with the Miami Marlins as I mean, that's a mess right there too. The Marlins, and we talked about them all the time. They look like a very exciting team, like a young, exciting team on paper. And then when it's all said and done,
they made so many good moves,
inconsistent,
and then they build the farm system and the pitching, like everything they did there, 100% right. Even like when they traded Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton, I thought that those were relatively good trades on the whole, and at the time, both at the time and now. But then this offseason, it's like, okay, your pitching's there to compete. You need offense. Your executive really wanted Castellanos, which we see how that likely would not have gone well. He didn't get Castellanos, so he left. And then you
Derek Jeter?
Signed. Yeah, it was Jeter. Yeah.
I forgot.
I just didn't want to say his name.
Just say his name.
We just don't want to make this a Jeter thing. A Mets fan talking about Jeter, it's I guess a no. But then you go and you sign. He's not
Voldemort. What is going on?
Volder Jeter. But no, and then you go and you sign Soler and Avisail Garcia. Like the moves that just Joey Wendell, great trade.
Yeah,
like he's a championship caliber piece on like a contender that every team needs a Joey Wendell. But not every team needs a Jorge Soler or Avisail Garcia, which they're basically the same thing. So what were they doing there?
You know what?
It didn't make sense to me.
You know what this world needs, Sean? They need some more solar power.
Oh,
Jorge Soler power. Because we're interested in prospects and how they land and where they go and what they do. Let's take a look back. Christian Yelich traded to the Brewers for Lewis Brinson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Monte Harrison and Ison Diaz.
And then who was they didn't get a pitcher in that trade?
I'm looking at the website. Those are the only 3 prospects that they name here.
Oh, okay. I thought they got a pitcher in that trade.
Either way, it's a thumbs down for me. I don't like any of those guys. Marcell Ozuna, Sandy Alcantara, Magnarius Sierra, and Zach Gallen, who they traded to the Diamondbacks for. Let me see. For Jazz Chisholm? He was part of the Jazz Chisholm trade? I didn't know that Jazz Chisholm was traded from the Diamondbacks. Well, now that's starting to kind of.
Yeah, well, no, that was the Zach Gallen trade.
No, they got him in this deal too. They got him from the Cardinals. Yeah. Sandy Alcantara, McNair, Sierra, and I'm reading it to you right now. The main return from Miami was Alcantara, a top 10 prospect in St. Louis system at the time, who has since gone on to become the current ace of the Marlins starting rotation. He's now 26 years old. So that was a really good trade for them. So if you can get an Alcantara and then you get rid of Zach Gallen and get Jazz Chisholm, who is for all intents and purposes the building block of that hitting lineup. And then this Giancarlo Stanton trade. They got Starlin Castro and Jorge Guzman.
That was the money. They just got rid of the money. That's all that was. Yeah.
That was Then Castro sucked, and I don't know who. Jorge Guzman was once rated as a number 4 overall prospect back in 2018. He finally made his major league debut in 2020, and I think he's a free agent with the Giants. He signed with the Giants. So there you go. Listen, man, that's trade 101. That is ways to not make a trade to get rid of 3 really outstanding outfielders. So yeah, Marlins. Marlins are messing up.
Okay, they didn't get Jazz Chisholm. They got Zach Gallen in that deal.
Who, the Marlins did?
Yes, and then they returned Gallen.
I just said that.
I know. I thought you said what's it called? I thought you said they traded like Chisholm was there.
No. The Zach Gallen would be turned around and get traded.
Oh, okay. I was like freaking out. I was like, no, Jazz Chisholm was not in St. Louis.
No, they got Zach Gallen from St. Louis.
Yes.
They turned around and traded Zach Gallen to the Diamondbacks for Jazz Chisholm. And Jazz Chisholm is now, that's what I was trying to say.
Yes. Okay. That makes more sense.
Is the future of the Marlins. Well, Jazz was all the bee's knees back in the 20s. So
I'm still sad that McNair Sierra never really got like a chance to play every day. He was so fast. Yeah. Like, just let him be D Gordon for 1 year.
Yeah, and look how well that D Gordon turned out to be. It's
cheater.
Those fast guys. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But he just wasn't it. I never. You know me, man. I don't believe in those speedy guys, man. There's always some sort of deficiency in their game that just prevents them from becoming great. So. And even
we don't need him to be great all the time. We just need him to steal bases in fantasy.
No, but not for my team. No way. I can't do that. Can't do it. Can't win with them. I told you right before when I went ahead and just started trading for stolen bases that one season. It was one of the most boring seasons I ever had in my fantasy life. And I said, "Fuck this! I'm never doing that again." And it turned out to be a good move. I mean, at least in our baseball life league, which we're going to get to in just a bit. But look at the Marlins. I mean, we talked about them. They finally brought up JJ Bleday. Lewin Diaz is finally looks like he's in a platoon. Is Brian De La Cruz a prospect, or is he just a guy?
I mean, he was the guy that they got in the Astros deal last year, and he hit the ground running, and then struggled immensely to start this year. Was back in the minors, and he's come back up, and he's that was Brian De La Cruz. It was a relief pitcher, I think. Keep going, and I'll tell you.
Tanner Scott. No, I'm joking. The rotation's where it's at, though. This is where the future really is looking really bright for them. Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo, Braxton Garrett. We haven't even mentioned Trevor Rogers yet because he's hurt again.
Or Sixto Sanchez.
Max Meyer, Sixto Sanchez. So Marlins are turning into a little bit of a hotbed of
So that deal was last year. The Astros traded De La Cruz and Austin Pruitt to the Marlins in exchange for Yimi Garcia.
Oh, okay.
Because Garcia had been their like kind of closer, main high leverage guy. So
Yimi was fighting off a couple of guys there.
The Floro.
Maybe Anthony Bender too.
Oh yeah, Bender was having the great year against righties. Bass still there? Yeah, Bass was there.
But that's the Marlins. I mean, who's in the minor leagues? This has turned into a show like, who they got? What else they got? Remember Ryan Lamberway? He's around.
Laverne Way, the catcher. The catcher. Isn't he like 30?
35.
Oh my god! And he's in AAA.
Yeah.
Oh, poor guy. I feel bad for him now.
Yeah, he's trying to get some playing time with Peyton Henry, the 25-year-old catcher, with the Marlins. Jesus Sanchez is still a work in progress. Remember, he was the hotshot prospect that everybody loved.
I watched him a lot, and
still waiting. Other than that, they really don't have anybody in AAA in terms of their hitters. There's Sixto Sanchez on the IR, IL, whatever. And the pitching side, Cole Sulzer is on the AAA relief bullpen. Over to AA. I don't know any of these guys. Maybe you can.
Yeah, they've called up basically all of their guys that started the year in AA or AAA this year that were anything in regards to hitting are on the major league roster right now. Guys like Charles LeBlanc, Jordan Groshans, Peyton Burdick, Gerard Encarnacion, all of those guys were like their top organizational hitters this year, and they are now on the major league roster.
Is Griffin Conine the son of Jeff Conine?
Yes. And he's like a really good power hitter in the minors, but he's one of those like quad A guys that hits for a lot of power and does absolutely nothing else.
Yeah, Griffin Conine, left-handed bat, unlike his daddy, who was a right-handed bat, 25-year-old in AA, Pensacola. But here's a big prize. So once again, it's the pitching. Yuri Perez in AA.
Yep.
And
I think Yuri Perez gets traded, honestly.
Man, that...
they have so much they got to trade somebody, and I think right now he has the highest potential to get back like a, I don't know, like what kind of what hitter do they trade for?
Get a little bit of everything, right? Yep. get a contact hitter, get a speedy hitter, and get a power hitter, and hopefully you get something out of that. Jose Salas is the other one, 81st ranked in the Fangraphs 100. He's in High A Beloit, Wisconsin, I believe. I don't know much about him. Middle infielder from Venezuela, but he's only 19 years old in High A. And I don't know, man. I don't see anybody else I recognize, people that we've talked to before. Maybe you have a better understanding since you do play in dynasty leagues. But suddenly the Marlins cupboard has run dry here in a hurry.
Do they take a step forward next year? Do they make the playoffs next year?
I mean, that's one of the thing I was going to bring up. I think that's part of the reason why they signed Jorge Soler and Avisaíl Garcia, which I did like the Garcia pickup. And after they got Jorge Soler, it was announced that they were going to do a National League DH now. So it kind of made sense to pick up a guy like Jorge Soler, who's just an absolute StatCast darling. But unfortunately, he struggles mightily and plays into the shift a lot, as well as we've seen in the last couple of years. But I think that's the reason why they made all those free agent acquisitions and those veteran acquisitions, was because they were trying to take a step forward and take advantage of a really good starting pitching and a decent bullpen, I guess, for all intents and purposes. But obviously hasn't worked.
Yeah, they have a lot of like Peyton Burdick, Gerard Encarnacion, JJ Bleday. These guys have really good power, but there's so much swing and miss in the lineup. Even guys like Charles LeBlanc, who they called up this year, they got to figure out something to do with Brian Anderson. What are they going to do with him?
Yeah, you got to trade him. You got to trade him.
Garrett Cooper, same thing.
Got to trade him. You got to trade these guys. I'm sorry.
I don't know what they're.
Miguel Rojas, nice to know you, but you need to go.
No, he's under contract. They extended him. I think Miguel Rojas is like their only. He could be player manager next year. Don Mattingly's gone. Yeah, Miguel Rojas player manager.
Oh yeah, they love his leadership skills for sure. I'm not denying that. Just as what are you doing for the team? And I don't see it. John Verdi as well, 32-year-old stolen base demon. Yeah, I know that. Are the Marlins going to take a step forward? But if you want to take a step forward, you need to get rid of these guys. But if you go with young guys, you're screwed either way, because you're wasting away a really good starting pitching rotation. Yeah. So yeah, this is what happens when you mismanage your team and you don't do a good job of player development. And the veterans you bring in, they're basically the White Sox, except that the White Sox play in a crappy division. So maybe that's the one saving grace for them. Who knows what they would be if they were in the AL East or AL West. But anyway, we go back to what were we doing? We got distracted.
Playoffs.
So Mets or Braves, who wins out really quick? The division?
I think right now the Braves are going to have to go through the last 10 games with no Spencer Strider. He goes on the IL. Ronald Acuna is not playing every day. Matt Olson was benched yesterday. I don't know. It seems like they're getting cold at the wrong time. You know, they were hot for basically 3.5 months.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of going into I don't want to call it a tailspin because it's not a tailspin. They're still like winning games.
Yeah, they're still winning. Yeah,
but I think right now the momentum is shifting kind of away from them, and I think the Mets the Mets all year have held on. And I've talked to a couple of Mets buddies, and I told them, they were like, everyone has talked about, oh, the Mets let the Braves catch them. And the Mets were still playing like 600 ball like that. How frustrating is that for the Mets? Like that they've played so well and yet the Braves still caught them. Well, I'd also turn it on its head. The Braves have played almost 650 ball and have still spent one day in first place, or 1 day tied in first place, or 2 days. Like how frustrating is that on their end? And that has to wear them down a little bit. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I just think the Mets all year have been doing this dance of hanging on, playing right with the Braves, basically. I think they continue to do it, and they end up the year with that number 1 spot.
Yeah, and I think the Braves are pretty much comfortable just making the playoffs either way. And maybe they're just resting some of these guys.
I definitely think that's where the Strider thing comes from. They were going to have to limit some of his innings anyway. So yeah, I definitely think this allows them to kind of set him up however they want for that wild card.
And it gives Acuna some rest for his knee. And who's the other guy who was hurt?
Well, I mean, Olsen wasn't hurt, but he's just really bad. He's had one of the worst months of September I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, the Rates and Barrels podcast talked about that. He is really struggling against the shift this year. So I'm pretty sure he's a guy who can't wait for that to go away. But those left-handed bats, man, you can't trust them. Those power-hitting left-handed bats, for as good of a season he had in Oakland last season, he was kind of underwhelming this year. And I understand. New league, new team. A lot of it has to be involved there.
It's kind of funny. You look at his monthly numbers, and he never had like a great one. He had a really good first month, March and April, 142 WRC plus, OBP near 400, hitting 295. And then the average in the on base just kind of started sitting around 250, and the OBP was right around 315, which was still like above league average with his slugging potential. In September, he's batting 111 with a 210 on base, 167 slug, striking out 32% of the time for a whopping 6 WRC plus. 6. That's like Miles Straw earlier this year when he was at 2. Like, really I love single digit WRC plus numbers.
Oh yeah,
they're fun.
Yeah, no sample size issues there, man. A quick good morning shout out to my guy Henry, our fearless leader, showing up this morning. You missed our Yankee talk, man. Sorry, you were a little late. We didn't even talk much about the Yankees. It's a done deal for them in these playoffs. It's done. Yeah. They're gonna make the playoffs with that division win, and they're basically just it's a formality at this point for them to get that division, and everybody else is playing for those wild cards in the AL East. So there's your quick synopsis on the AL East in case you missed it earlier. We move on to the NL Central. Remember when it was the Brewers and Cardinals going back and forth? Those days are gone. Long gone. And the Cardinals are 99.5% assured to win the division in the National League Central. Brewers are 6.5 games back, but there's obviously 0.5% to win a division. So they would need some sort of miraculous comeback. And I don't see it. I just don't see it. The hitting has been an issue. Now their pitching can't be trusted either. So I don't know. Do you believe in miracles, Sean, over there?
I don't know. I don't really believe in the Cardinals, but I also don't believe in the Padres either. And I think that the Padres have kind of caught a little bit of momentum here, but their story all year has been disappointing. Like, I mean, for every single from the very beginning, Tatis got hurt. Tatis is going to miss a lot of. Already? Well, it's like I think the Padres, like I don't want to say the aura, but like their whole vibe has been disappointing. Okay. So wouldn't it make sense if they just missed the playoffs?
Who, the Padres?
Yeah, and it just kind of completes the whole thing.
Well, I guess, but what about the Brewers, though?
I mean, like I said, I don't believe in the Brewers either.
Yeah, like, they are a big mess. Like Christian Yelich has been leading off for them, and That's good for Christian Yelich, but it's not good for anybody else, unfortunately, as the rest of the team is just garbage in terms of their offense, which was their Achilles heel all season long. But we figured, well, they have a really good pitching staff. So if they just win a bunch of 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 games, that should be good enough. But even their pitchers, like for Freddie Peralta, was
Freddie Peralta was a big whiff on me in the Fantrax league. He was one of my keepers, and just
he's having
nothing from him.
He's having a good season, but he can't stay healthy. He's
but
only
even
had 15 games.
when he came back from the injury before he went back on the IL, his strikeouts were like down to 6.5 per 9 innings.
That's right.
It was just not good.
And
the ERA was staying somewhat low, but that was not the Freddie Peralta I signed up for.
No, for sure. Yeah. Adrian Hauser, 66 strikeouts and 99 innings. No, big thumbs down. I never liked him to begin with. I will never let you guys. I still like Adrian Hauser, but he's dealt with a lot of. I mean, he missed like 2 months with that shoulder thing. So, yeah. So there's another durability issue, and then the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's always going to be pretty darn good with guys like Taylor Rogers, Matt Bush, Devin Williams, Brett Boxberger. But obviously the Josh Hader thing, that was a big complete mess. Aaron Ashby is the long relief guy, and he has just proven to be inconsistent as well, which is disappointing because we were hoping for big things out of him. Yeah. But no, it's oh Lord. And then when you get to the AAA, who can save their season? You got to count on these rookies, right? Who can save their season? S3E33, we mentioned him a lot, but he's already been called up, and he's been sent down and called up numerous times already. Apparently, they got John Singleton.
They also have Tyler White. They have both of those Houston guys.
Yeah, David Stearns, man. Those are his guys from Houston. David Stearns, the general manager of the Brewers, or president, or whatever his title is.
Okay, don't look now, but Milwaukee's won 4 in a row. And they got Cincinnati again today, and then they have 2 versus St. Louis, and 4 versus Miami, and 3 versus Arizona. So they might have one of the, once they get through those 2 games versus St. Louis, which they're not competing for that division anymore anyway. Your last 7 games are against Miami and Arizona. Arizona's been a kind of a tougher team than you expect, but like I said, I don't know. And let's see who the Padres have. I'd have to look.
Well, before you do, let's quickly move over to the NL West. Dodgers, just for formality's sake, because we were doing it in that order. Dodgers are going to win this no matter what happens. 21 games in front. It's done. It's done. So now let's switch over to the wild card. The National League wild card, it's still the Phillies at the top, 86.6% chance of winning the wild card, which is a big surprise for me. All the stuff that they went through, how putrid that lineup looks. No Nick Castellanos, or at least
he's there, but not Nick Castellanos.
Just taking up space, taking up money. We complain about how awful their fielding looks. Hey, maybe who knows? The guy from the Angels, what's his name again?
Marsh.
Brandon Marsh was all the difference for them, right? So,
hey, in a wild card matchup, that is the one team. If compared to them, San Diego and Milwaukee, between those 3 potential wild card teams, the one that I want to face the least is I think I would order it Philadelphia, San Diego, Milwaukee, but the last 2 are like right with each other because I don't want to face Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola in a 3-game series.
Yeah, and it looks like their bullpen is finally formidable. Like in years past, that's always been their Achilles heel. Like not just an Achilles heel, but just their Waterloo, their detriment, everything.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't say it's better for sure.
It's compared. I mean, we're talking about historically bad, Sean.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not. They're not historically bad, but they're not. I wouldn't say like good either. Like they still have their moments.
That's all you need. Just a bit better, so you're not historically bad. And I think if they were just a little bit better, they wouldn't be in the position they're in right now. I mean, that's just the truth. If they were much worse, I mean, let's take it out. Let's take a look. Pick a pitching stat, a team pitching stat.
I hit teams.
I'll do it. I got it on the FIP, right?
Yeah.
Let's just do a team FIP for bullpen arms, just the bullpen. Let's see where they rank. 12th. I mean, that's better than being 12th? Historically bad. That's way better. If you want to go traditional, they have a 4.21 ERA, unfortunately for them. So, but what does a 4.21 ERA get you nowadays? 4.21 ERA gets you 22nd, but that's still not historically bad. I mean, you're not even 30th in the league. You're 22nd.
The thing that worries me about them is if you look at a lot of these bullpens, you see a 4.19 walk rate per 9 innings. Your bullpen walking guys is always like the number one thing that screws you over when games really start getting down to very important like spots. But I mean, Daniel Robertson like coming in, that was huge for them. Obviously, good job. It's just like the back end of the B team of the bullpen I worry about, and just kind of like the depth in the bullpen.
You're not counting it, and we've seen teams. Okay, like XFIP, they're 19th. I mean, we've seen teams middle of the pack win World Series. Like I don't know, the 2016 Chicago Cubs, they didn't have a really lights out bullpen.
I mean, they had Chapman.
Well, Yankee fans will tell me that he didn't do shit for this team when he got acquired. But no, we were living on a prayer. That's why Chapman was brought up every single goddamn game, because what, you want to bring out CJ Edwards, Pedro Strop?
Yeah. I mean, that's what did the 2015 Mets in. I mean, they rode Jerry's Familia through the NLDS, the NLCS, and even in the World Series, like he wasn't bad. It's just he had 3 blown saves and 1 earned run the entire time.
Well, I got you, man. If you want to go by the ultimate statistic, bullpen war, right? The Dodgers aren't. No, that's what everybody swears by, and that's these war projections have turned out to be very prophetic, right? Because at the beginning of the season, the Yankees were had the number one projected war lineup, the number one starting pitching projected war line rotation, and the number one projected bullpen in terms of projection war. But so now that wins above replacement is going live, and we've had almost 90% of the season of statistics. Here are your top 10 bullpens in all of Major League Baseball just on bullpen war. Number 1, the Dodgers. Number 2, the Astros. Number 3, the Atlanta Braves. Number 4, the Cleveland Guardians. Number 5, the Yankees. These are all good teams so far, right? Yep. They're all we've established that. Number 6, the Padres. Who I love the Padres bullpen every single season, every single year. I cannot stop talking about the Padres bullpen.
I hated them coming into this year.
Oh man,
I thought they were such a mess this year. I mean, that was kind of why they needed a hater.
Well, in terms of establishing roles, they were a mess, but there's like they had some lively arms in there, man. I can't get enough of it. I get suckered into it every season. It seems like the Tigers are surprisingly in 7th. Then okay, so maybe WAR is a fake stat, but everybody. Hey, but listen, man.
Maybe they are.
That's another team we should probably look at, but we're already well over time. I don't want to look at the Tigers, but I'm kind of curious who the Tigers have that make them 7th in terms of bullpen war. Number 8, everybody's favorite team of all time. Everybody's team that everybody tags me in. And look how good they are. Felipe, you're missing the boat on this. They're so good. The Baltimore Orioles, number 8. And at number 9, your wild card leading Philadelphia Phillies. And to round out the top 10 is the Chicago White Sox. So it's a really, I think it's much better, and that's made all the difference for them. If they were bad, we wouldn't be talking about the Phillies making the playoffs via the wild card at this point. Padres are in 2nd. We talked a little bit about them, 82.6%. They're a half game behind. As every time people want to talk about how dead they are, they just keep fighting. And Juan Soto has really let me down in my fantasy league.
And it's funny because in our matchup right now, he's actually having a great week.
And yeah, but it's like, I won't say it's too little, too late, but it's definitely. Not looking good for my team.
Too late, too little.
Too late, too little, right? But Juan Soto is what do you call it? I think, again, Rates and Barrels podcast over at The Athletic, they were talking about how he too is for balls going up the middle, he's only hitting 240 something or another, like well below 240 or something like that, around that area. So Juan Soto not having the usual year, he's only hitting 242. But look at this on base percentage
over 400. Yeah, it's insane. And it's funny that, like, I know offense in general, like, kind of power was down, but I feel like the thing that was even down more this year is on base percentage. If you go and you look at the on base percentage leaders in the National League, it's very weird because, Brandon Nimmo's a guy who's always been around a 400 on base. This year, his on base was lower. The walk rate was down a couple of percent, but there's only 3 guys with 400 or higher. Go figure, it's Goldschmidt, Freeman, Soto. Freeman and Soto have always been on that list. But then the next closest is 374 with Jeff McNeil. And then the next closest is Mark Canha at 370. So if you look at the top 10 on base percentages, the 9 and 10 spots are 359. And I feel like normally like the top 10 are all like 370 or higher. But this year there's only 5 guys in the National League with on base 370 or higher, which is just interesting to me because I always felt like we talk about the power being suppressed this year, but really I feel like on base got hit harder than a lot of people realize too.
Sorry, I got distracted.
I could tell just a wee bit there.
Yeah, my daughter left her sweater here, but it looks so small. I don't think it would fit her, but apparently it should fit her. But my daughter's so damn tall. I'm surprised that any clothes fit her at this point. All right, so that's the Padres. Like I said, people want to count them out, but they're just, I mean, the talent. Now, there's a team that's talented up and down the roster sheet, right? And then they unlike the White Sox, they actually did make moves to improve the roster, right? And so they should be rewarded accordingly. They should make the playoffs because that is what a playoff team looks like. I know you mentioned as a joke. I don't know if you were serious or not, or if you were just kind of saying the whole pros of the fact that the Padres missed the playoffs. It would just be the most Padres thing ever. I guess that was the gist of
yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like one of those, like it would be a fitting end to their story this year. like in a bad way, like not like a fitting end, like the happily ever after. But when you take into account like how their season has just gone, like that would kind of make sense.
And I do apologize. It's the Braves are in the top spot of the wild card. There are 10 games in front. So I didn't realize this was new. They are 20% assured of themselves to clinch a bye. And even if they don't clinch the bye, they're still 79.9% of clinching the wild card. So I had this sorted by wild card. So let me go back to wild card games behind. So it's the Padres at the top. Phillies are still a half game behind. I'm sorry, they're the leaders.
There's 3 wild cards.
Yeah, so. It's brand new world, guys. Give me a break.
We're still learning ourselves.
1.5 games. The Phillies are 1.5 games in front of the Brewers. So and that we talk about the Brewers and all the mess that they made. So okay, so the Brewers have no chance, or maybe they do, but it's a fighting chance. But still, it's the Cardinals should have this one locked up. Brewers still have a really good chance of making the wild card. All things that we talked about: Phillies, Brewers, and even the Padres. Do you still believe that the Brewers find a way to sneak in?
Like I said, I think they can. And I don't think it would be at the Phillies' expense. I think it's going to be at the Padres' expense.
Wow.
Because like I said, I know that the Padres are now 1 game ahead of the Phillies, but I don't know. Padres have, I had just pulled it up. If I can find their remaining schedule.
While you do that, I got to make some corrections here. So I think I had did the same thing with the American League where I had the Mariners ahead of the pack. No, it's Blue Jays are ahead of the pack, and the Rays are a half game behind the Blue Jays for that top wildcard spot. Yeah. The Mariners have the 3rd place locked down, but they're fending off the Orioles, who are only 4 games behind them. With the White Sox
so that's why they have like 0.8% of making the playoffs, because they are technically still there. But yes, the Padres, they have 1 more game against Colorado today, and then they do have 3 against the Dodgers, 3 against the White Sox, and 3 against the Giants. And like the Giants, like even though they're kind of out of it, like they want to spoil things for the National League West. Like, especially if like their last 3 games means that the San Diego Padres, who are the ones that the Giants won 107 games last year, and this offseason, all anybody wanted to talk about was the San Diego Padres. I'm sure that clubhouse is going to be feeling some pride to kind of screw things up for them.
Well, that's a veteran clubhouse too. The Giants are. I mean, they don't have any. I don't think they have any young players worth of note. Maybe Joey Bart, but come on.
Yeah,
they're going to go out there. They're going to be professional about it. They're not going to. I don't think that Gabe Kapler would allow.
No,
for the Giants to just milk it in or just cash it in or whatever that term
And
is.
it's like right now, Carlos Rodon is projected to pitch that game on October 4th. And we see a lot of these teams that, like, if it's a meaningless game or whatever, they say, "Oh, we're not going to throw the guy," like whatever. I don't think Kapler would do that, especially with Rodon about to be a free agent. Like, whatever, we're going to throw him.
Yeah,
Which I thought was interesting. Speaking of Mattingly news, I wanted to bring it up today that the Mets, after they face Atlanta, play Washington, and the Braves play Miami. And Don Mattingly came out and said that if that game with the Braves is still like meaningful for the National League East division, he's going to let Sandy Alcantara pitch.
Ooh.
And I'm like, but if it was basically, he said, if it's a meaningless game, we'll find somebody else and Sandy's season will be done. But he said, if that game still is like determinant of the National League East, he said, it's not fair. He said, I'll let Sandy pitch. And I was like, yes. And I really hope Davey Martinez out in Washington is like, guys, if when we face the Mets, if Patrick Corbin's lined up and it's still a meaningful game, I have to let him pitch because I really want to. Patrick Corbin's an easy win. I need that same energy, Davey.
Yeah, right. All right, so again, just to recap, Blue Jays, Rays, Mariners, Orioles are on the outside looking in. The White Sox still have a fighting chance, but we already talked. I don't believe in the White Sox. And the Twins, 9.5 games back. But yeah, Twins, look, we mentioned it. Sonny Gray got hurt. Joe Ryan has been up and down. Bailey Ober just came back, and I think he struggled against the Royals. I mean, he didn't struggle, but he wasn't dominant like he was in his first game back. So when I mentioned those three guys, because those were my three guys that I put all my I was all in on for fantasy purposes, because those were the guys that I wanted, and I made sure to get them in all my leagues, in all my drafts, and they've been pretty disappointing. So yeah, so that's what it looks like in the AL, and then in the NL, just to recap, because I did butcher the standings because I was doing it by wild card percentages. Braves at the very top, they're in no matter what. It's just a matter of clinching that bye week. Padres, Phillies, and then the Brewers 1.5 games behind the Phillies. The Giants, you mentioned them, 9.5 games out. But either way, I do see them as a team that will want to play the role of spoiler, just because there's a lot of Grizzly veterans in there that
the Crawfords, the Longorias, like that's the lineup to do it.
Yeah, and then the Diamondbacks only 13 games behind, but they're out. They're completely out. So there it is. If we want to take a quick look at the World Series stuff, can we do that?
I think it's so far like I don't know. I hate looking at it.
Oh man, no, I love looking at that crap. Let me see. Bear with me. All right. In the American League, 16.2% Astros, 10.6% the Yankees. And then the Blue Jays, Rays, Mariners, Guardians are all below 7%. Of those guys, of those teams, Blue Jays, Rays, Mariners, and Guardians, who do you think actually has a legitimate chance to surprise people and win the World Series this year?
I don't think it's the Blue Jays. I don't think the Blue Jays really have the pitching. I think it's Kevin Gausman and
Jose Barrios.
Yeah, well, and Alek Manoah, but then you have to rely on Jose Barrios to not just shit the bed. I don't know. I like the Mariners. I just think they have the pitching that could kind of carry them in the lineup, that if you get J-Rod back healthy, as he kind of rests up these last week and a half. I don't know.
I'm going to go with the Guardians.
Guardians. I mean, you like I said earlier in the show, you can never count them out.
Yeah, they got Terry Francona managing. I mean, you're seeing the difference between having a real, reliable guy who doesn't take this game for granted, who is there because he's constantly working on his craft, and that's Terry Francona, versus the White Sox, who were relying on some corpse from the 80s to and Tony La Russa to get him back. And you saw the difference. We saw a little bit of a difference when Miguel Cairo took over that managerial position. But the White Sox team is such an afterthought at this point that it just, not even a managerial change at the end of the season is going to get them right to ship, for all the reasons we mentioned. But the Guardians have shown that they can play all facets of the game in terms of their offense. They can run, they can hit for power, they can hit for average. They are going to give other teams fits, and they have a farm system that is just ready to be on the ready to contribute any way possible. And they have a deep bullpen. We just mentioned a couple of guys, and Emmanuel Clase, James Karinchak, Trevor Steven. And somehow the starting pitching always looks good, even though on paper, I'm like, we talk about it all the time, Sean. How is this team any good?
Yeah.
But they keep proving me wrong. So I'm just gonna, I'm on that surprise train with the Guardians here. Over to the National League, you got the Mets at 17.3%. So that's the highest in all of baseball, Sean. That's better than the Dodgers at 15.8%.
Those two guys named DeGrom and Scherzer probably have a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But the Dodgers, they can combat with Julio Urias and Clayton Kershaw. You ready for some playoff Clayton Kershaw, Sean?
I really think that this is a very determining playoffs for Clayton Kershaw. I mean, for all we know, it could be his last. Like, he could at any time hang it up and I wouldn't be surprised, or he could play another year and I wouldn't be surprised. He was really in limbo this offseason. He had a little bit of injury problems that people were talking about, and the Dodgers didn't even give him a qualifying offer. And he's come back and he's been Clayton Kershaw. It's kind of just amazing. He's almost going that route of like the David Ortiz of pitching, where he's gonna pitch, and as long as he's playing, he's gonna be good until he just decides he doesn't want to pitch anymore. I mean, 2.42 ERA. What? He's like 37 million years old. He's only 34, but the amount of mileage on that arm is like insane. And he just goes in, day out, whip underneath one. Like, he's lost all of his fastball, but it's still good. And I really think that's why Kershaw keeps coming back. He wants to rewrite the playoff legacy, I think, and that's why I think that this is a important one for him too, because now he has the ring. Now he needs to go out there and kind of show in terms. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer anyway. He doesn't have to prove anything, but just to kind of rewrite his postseason legacy, which I think would be a cool way to end his career.
And then the Braves are at 9.4% to win the World Series. So I would consider that in contention. And they are the defending champs. So you don't count them out until they get eliminated. Obviously, cliche alert there. So here are the surprise teams so far. Padres, Phillies, Cardinals, and Brewers. All these guys are hovering at or below 5%. Who's your surprise pick to win the World Series from that group?
I would say the Padres, even though I also think that they could, not make the playoffs.
Right.
But I saw it, but it's just one of those, okay, you look at the rotation, Snell, Musgrove, Darvish. Okay, that's a record in a playoff. Juan Soto is kind of getting hot right now this week. I mentioned he's probably having one of the best, weeks for you and your lineup. But Juan Soto in a playoff, like he could just go insane. And they have good defense. They're a little bit more fundamentally sound than I think people realize. Ha-Seong Kim, great defensive infielder. Trent Grisham hasn't been able to hit anything, but has some postseason experience. Probably not all of it good with his, pivotal error. But he's also a very good defensive outfielder. I think they're. And they made all those moves, and they have Josh Hader. Like, okay, Josh Hader's been bad, but it's one of those stories of what if all the guys that have struggled, what if they just make it to the playoffs and then they just go on ragers, which we've seen before. We've seen teams kind of limp into the playoffs, and maybe they have a bye week or something like that, or bye few days, and it kind of allows them to reset and be like, okay, guys, we grueled through that marathon. We didn't end how we wanted to, but in the regular season, but let's end it how we want to now. So it wouldn't really surprise me either way with the Padres.
Yeah, I was going to say the Padres too, but I guess an honorable mention here would be the Cardinals, just from a storyline perspective, from an intangibles perspective. Yadier Molina looks like he might be riding off into the sunset with Albert Pujols. You still have a gamer like Adam Wainwright, 41-year-old that he is. He's still a very tough pitcher to deal with. Miles Mikolas, the hard-sinking, throwing right-handed pitcher for them. And you have two resurgent reclamation projects of sorts in Jose Quintana and Jordan Montgomery as well, lefty pitchers that might give team some fits. If we're looking at pitching, your guy Ryan Helsley, dominant out of the bullpen. Giovanni Gallegos looking pretty decent as the setup guy. And looks like they are getting their bullpen in order just in time for the playoffs. So there's a lot to like here for the Cardinals. And as you know, they don't give a damn who you are.
Yeah.
They don't care who you are.
I really want to see a Cardinals-Dodgers matchup, Kershaw versus Wainwright. That would be fun. That would be a fun game.
All right. And then how are we doing on time there, Sean? Snap. It's almost noon. All right. So we can talk about our playoffs, but let's quickly I'm just going to recap it really quick, Sean. Go round by round, and we'll go into deeper analysis next week if we have to. Looks like it. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just go right now. Andrew lost to James big in the first round. Sean took care of our guy Harvey from Eastern Washington. I defeated Leon in pretty dominant fashion, which is surprising because that guy was I think you know about this, right? That he beat me in the regular season 3 games to 1.
Oh, really?
Remember, I had a thing like when Felipe faces a step back, I get destroyed by the basketball podcast, which is it's kind of funny. Like it's not like that I'm getting just beaten, but it's like both of them are beating me in convincing fashion. But I believe I was able to
were you getting double teamed?
I was getting double teamed by those guys. Yeah.
You were getting trapped in the corner.
I didn't know how to respond to it. They had the zone trap on me. And they made me shoot the ball with like a second left on the clock.
You took a low efficient shot. Low efficiency. I sound like Goldmember right there.
Yeah. Normally there is no inefficient shot if it's a 3-pointer, but yeah, I'm talking like half court. Like, oh man, I got to get rid of this. But I think I was able to tie the series with Jacob this year. But I know for a fact that Leon did beat me 3 games to 1. So the fact that I beat him here, what is that? It's like, well, at this point of the season, the final is weighted heavily, right? So this makes, I guess, a playoff win ties the season series as well, right? Why not? No, he beat me 3 games to 2, but I was able to beat him in the playoffs at the very least, and that's like multiple matchups with him. I mean, I don't want to like goat on him, but it's like I make the final in the league that we're in a different sport, and there's Leon. So I beat him in the WNBA final. Yes, we do have a WNBA league. It's awesome. It's great. Fantastic. I beat him in the Football Life League last year. And we faced each other in the inaugural fantasy basketball league, which he defeated me in. And he made the final and lost to Tyler last year as well. So it's always a worthy task to face Leon in these playoffs. Henry, who was on the chat, defeated Jacob, the other half of the Step Back podcast, in a very tight race. That was probably the closest matchup of the week, 13-11, meaning 13 categories to 11 categories. In the second round, that's what we're going in through right now. Henry has a sizable lead against the number one
over
team.
The favorite.
Yeah, the
upset alert.
30-game winner. James Handleboat. I'm pretty sure James is kicking himself because he was pretty proud of himself the way he's able to turn around his team. And then, of course, I am getting murdered by Sean once again. And it's not the fact that I'm losing to you, because if I'm going to lose to someone, it better be my podcast partner. Right? There's no shame in that. But it's the fact that this is the second year in a row where my team just lays a big freaking egg. And I'll tell you the one, man. We could say that for next week, but yeah, last year, my team was much better than this year.
I feel the same way. Yeah. I know I went on a little hot streak to end the year to get me into like the number 3 or 4 seed, but my pitching this year was I've struggled with my pitching. I was like just looking left and right because like I had Cease had a great year, but it was like, with our bi-weekly matchups, you're looking, okay, once Cease is done, I feel like I can win that matchup. But then you look, okay, he can't pitch the next matchup. Who am I pitching? And so it's like I had Cease and Ohtani who kind of carried me, but they were also kind of on the same schedule. So I could never just they pitched together. And so the other matchup was always really hard to fill with guys like Dane Dunning. Nick Lodolo. Like I was kind of relying to Taiwan Walker. I was relying on those guys.
You know, I we can talk about that next week. But a lot of those guys that you mentioned, I trusted on those guys too, and I must have dropped them, and you must have picked them up immediately. So, but no. So my point was that my team last year was better than this year's team. Just like your team last year was much better than this year's team. I think you were as low as 8th place at one point, right?
Yeah, I was struggling a lot.
Yeah, and it's still a different year, same result. It's still a blowout league to a lower seed. I mean, I'm gotta call it the way I see it. I think you were like the second best team last year in the regular season.
Yeah, I was one matchup I think behind you, 1 or 2 wins behind you.
Could have sworn it was bigger than that, but it doesn't matter. You still won. So it's like, you know, we were up on this level, and then we get dropped down a little of a lower level, and the results are the same. You still are blowing me out. So it's
head-to-head fantasy baseball.
It is a great mystery, man. I will never understand how that works. And there's a good chance where we either see the Dong City orange pinstripe person win, or
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always thinking about that. Yeah. Or we get once again another back-to-back champion. So Aaron was our first back-to-back champion, and then you won it last year, and you have a good chance of winning it this year again. So
fingers crossed.
Wow, it is crazy. And speaking of Aaron and all those guys, they're playing for the first pick. Who's winning that one? Looks like Aaron is on the lead right now to get the first pick next year. So there you have it. All right.
We reward no tankers here.
Oh, yeah.
You got to win for your picks.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, well, that's fantasy philosophy that we could talk about that some other day about what's the best way to go about things. But I'm a firm believer that if you have a game schedule, you got to try. You got to at least try. You show me that you can try, and because everybody, Sean, you know this, man. Everybody begs, Felipe, I want to be in your league. I want to be in your league. You sure about that? And then feelings get hurt. And anyway, last words from you, Sean. Go ahead.
So I'm on the upswing in our fantasy league, but in the one that I invest so much time in, it appears that one, my 30 team, it will come to an end. I will still battle for third place next week. But yeah, whenever that season starts to wind down, that 30 team, I'm adjusting lineups every day. Like, I put so much work into that league, and it's always one of those, okay, what can I do next year? And so I'm already starting that thought process of the off season, even though I have one more, I'll have a third place game or whatever, unless barring some crazy comeback. But yeah, you ready for next fantasy year?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, you ready for next year?
No.
No. I'm already thinking about next year now.
No, I am thinking about it, but it's like when, and again, that's a different topic.
I feel like an addict.
No, I mean, well, I listen to other podcasts, and they're already talking about next year. Like, all right, well, here's how my rankings go. Like, how are you? That means you're gonna start tweaking. I mean, I guess it's the smart thing to do, but that would be driving me crazy with the idea that I would have to constantly tweak my rank. I mean, I do, but not this early. Yeah. If anything, I might just start looking at prospects for this season. But how do you do that? How do you manage all that? I mean, because things have changed since March. You know, the prospect rankings from earlier this season are going to be different all the time. And how do you account for all the production and all the performances? And how do you account for guys who got called up from AA, AAA midseason, as opposed to somebody who's finishing the year in AA, has a good season, but now you don't know what to make of it because the last guy made it to AAA and he either crushed the ball or he was struggling. So do you drop that guy down or you leave him where he is? And but that's why we do it, right? That's part of the plan. This is why we have this podcast, because we are. But I've been thinking about it. I just have to kind of temper my expectations, because do I want to do all this work now only to do all these corrections later? Or do I just what I've been doing this whole time, especially with Austin being a big help here, is do it sometime in December or January, probably January, when all the free agents are signed, at least the big name free agents are signed already, and just start going through all the numbers. And that's the other thing, Sean, because we rely on projections.
Yeah,
a lot of these projection systems aren't ready until like late February, it seems like.
For sure.
So, and that puts us up against the clock, right? Because in March is the draft. So we're definitely So for I guess in that aspect, yeah, we are been thinking about it. Austin and I have been trying to plan better for next season, so we're not going at the last minute.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We might have to do something different this year because I don't want to go through that ever again. But a lot of it was the stupid lockout really messed us up.
The lockout was tough.
Yeah, we had already had our ranking system done in January. We're just kind of waiting for the lockout. And then the next thing you know, hey, we're going to go ahead and approve the DH in the National League. Like, a son of a bitch. Now I got to go. And then all the free agents finally got signed. Like, oh, now we got to tweak the roster again because we also are roster based. So, like I said, we had about 750 players on our list. And obviously not all of them are going to get drafted. But as we mentioned last week, even the back end guys, they ended up helping. The Hunter Browns, he was in our list. Spencer Strider, he was somewhere in our list back there. At the very least, we noticed him. We talked about him, all three of us. I remember vividly that we did mention, hey, Spencer Strider, he's on the bottom of the deep sea, the projections, but he could be someone that could do something for your team. And lo and behold, there he is.
Yep. About
to win Rookie of the Year, if not Cy Young.
You think he gets it over Michael Harris? I think that one's going to be like insanely close. Like, has there ever been a Rookie of the Year?
Yeah,
I'm sure there has.
I think if I have to pick one, I think I would go with Spencer Strider. He just has the more dominant season.
Yeah.
I know a lot of these. The way we do it, I think the way we do it, we do split it between hitters and pitchers. Yeah. So there's always going to be a rookie pitching or whatever award, and when we do our end of year awards. But if I have to pick one and only one in real life baseball, I would have to go with Spencer Strider. I have to. Yeah. I love Michael Harris and Vaughn Grissom. But I think Spencer Strider, it's going to be a Brave. Put it this way. It's going to be an Atlanta player winning this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just one of those. I also saw that he's the first pitcher ever to have a 200 strikeout season without giving up 100 hits in Major League history. Thought that was interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
And he's lined up. He won't pitch the rest of the regular season, so that he looks like he'll be lined up to keep that. I'm not sure if he's a qualified starting pitcher this year because of his time in the bullpen and whatnot, but
he's gonna get the Ohtani treatment.
Yeah, because I don't think he's on the list of qualified starters.
Interesting. Well, either way, I think I would still go with Strider as of right now, unless Michael Harris just put some gargantuan statistics in the last 10 days or so, in the next 10 days or so, which is gonna we won't be able to deny his greatness for Rookie of the Year this year. But I'm sorry, I'm a sucker. It's Spencer Strider has been, I don't know, he's really solidified that rotation for the Braves, where they have 3-4 guys maybe now in the rotation that nobody wants to face.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Strider and Fried.
And then, Kyle Wright is no slouch, man.
Yeah. Kyle Wright's good. I'll give him that.
He's okay.
But the 20 wins. Don't damn say 20 wins. Don't fucking say 20 wins.
When do I ever say wins?
I know, but that's what a lot of people have led with Kyle Wright.
No, I mean, listen, man. Kyle Wright went from like a nobody. Like, he
was a top prospect, but I meant to say it all flamed. Yeah, like it all flamed out.
Yeah, that's what I meant. An afterthought, not a nobody. I mean, like he was somebody, then he became a nobody, that nobody could trust. Like they should trade him away and get something out of him. And they somehow found a way to fix him or whatever. And now look at him. Kyle Wright is a formidable, decent starting pitcher for a really good team. And then you still got Charlie Morton, who's still Jesus Christ. Charlie Morton has 196 strikeouts and 163 innings pitched.
Charlie.
That's wild.
Uncle Charlie likes his Uncle Charlie. Like
and so you added Spencer Strider into the mix, and that's a very good rotation that I wouldn't want to be a part of any of that. I do not want to be the team that's facing all those 4 guys there in a playoff series. Anyway, that is Sean over there. I am Felipe. That is the Major League playoff outlook as of right now. We'll see how it unfolds, and then we'll go back to fantasy baseball next week and go do that as well, as we will more than likely have a championship winner this. Well, no, we won't, but we will have an update in the Fantrax League, because that is the last league I'm playing in. How many leagues you got left?
I have a couple that I keep updating just for my sanity. Okay. But I'm out of it everywhere except this.
All right. Well, we'll see how Sean looks in the championship matchup. I'm already, towel.
You see, that's where I am with the 30 team. Like, I know I could theoretically still win this 30 team league, but being down 21 going into the last day, and he has 2 starters going, is Cortez and the rookie from Pittsburgh. But it's like I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to be like, oh, I hope one of those guys has like a negative 15-point game, like the rookie. Like, but I if I don't get my hopes up, I can't be disappointed.
That's right. That's right.
The mantra of everyone's fantasy season. If you don't get your hopes up, you can't be disappointed.
Well, if it's you and Henry, good luck to the both of you. I have no horse in that race. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, you guys are both my friends and podcast brethren. So either way, it's always good to see somebody in the podcast winning one of these leagues, because I don't know, it's pretty cool to see. But anyway, that is Sean. I am Felipe. We will talk to you next time. Adios.
Adios, guys.